welcome. Tonight we're going into an area that most of us don't know anything about or have preconceived notions. I have to admit, when our guest tonight came in, I'm looking saying, I know that face. I remember that face from my daughter's friends at high school. Didn't seem like the stereotypical tattoo artist that you see on TV. So tonight, stand by. We're going to explore not just tattooing, but it's amazing if you Google medical tattooing, you start seeing how many cool things and how they can help people with medical tattoos. So why don't we start with an introduction?
All right, so my name is Jessie Dillon. I own a small cosmetic tattoo studio in Milford. It's right at 258 Main Street, so it's downtown, right near the police station. It's myself and 3 other artists, and we offer microblading, permanent makeup, a couple different types of cosmetic tattooing. So we do eyeliner, lip liner, lipstick, and faux freckles.
Faux freckles?
Yep. You'd be surprised. I always have people say, you know, I would never want to put an imperfection on my face, but there's a huge demographic of people that are really into it. I've actually had someone drive from upstate New York just to get freckles.
Talk to my darling bride. She does everything in the world to get rid of freckles.
I know, that's what everyone says. But it's like if you have them, you hate them, but if you don't have them, you want them. Well,
that was the whole high school era. Those who were tall wanted to be short. Those who were a certain body style wanted to be skinny or not. You never could win. But let's start. Tattoos.
Yep.
Okay. I think of the grizzly old man with the beard, with tattoos running, you know, all over, putting on mom or something. When I read about medical tattoos, it's not about that.
No, definitely not. So it's kind of hard to even drop the word tattoo and have people not get that idea. I think so many women, when they hear that it's technically a tattoo studio, they expect to walk into something just kind of rough around the edges, but it's a really quaint little studio. It's really feminine, it's cute and comfortable. But cosmetic tattooing and medical tattooing is really something that blossomed more from the medical world and the beauty industry than it did from the tattooing world. And even though there is kind of overlap between permanent makeup and traditional tattooing, it's a really different technique. It's just a different feel. It's for a totally different client and a different purpose. Ultimately, it all comes down to wanting to look better and feel better and like how you look, which is just like regular tattooing, permanent makeup, medical tattooing. So they all have that in common.
When I think of tattoos, I can't imagine what I would want to wear every moment of my life.
Yeah.
Maybe my daughter's name or something, but what is the attraction to having a tattoo?
Like a traditional tattoo?
Yeah, like a regular, not a medical, we want to get into that, but what is the excitement of, first of all, having somebody stab you 1,000 times?
Well, that part's not great. I'm not going to lie. But I think it's just like wearing an accessory. You know, it's like, for women, it's like buying a new bracelet or buying a new necklace, but you kind of have it on forever.
I was going to say.
So it has to go with everything. But
can you tattoo shoes? That would,
oh, I hope not.
If you could tattoo a shoe and they couldn't change their shoes, it would save me a fortune with my daughter.
I bet it would. I don't know how that would look, though. But yeah, I mean, it definitely involves commitment, but it's kind of like just having artwork on you all the time. Some people just find a tattoo artist that they love their style and their art and just want to wear it all the time. Other people get tattoos for a certain meaning, like maybe a loved one that you lost, you could get a tattoo for them, like to commemorate them. So there's lots of reasons.
I mean, I could see that.
Yeah.
I would be nervous, you know, when you see these people who they're dating and to show their love, they get tattoos. And it's like, seriously?
I can't comment on that.
So, I know it'll hurt. But what happens when Maria leaves and Teresa comes in? And
well, you can either cover it up or you can get it removed. Either way, it's kind of a pain. But
I would say, sounds like more pain.
Yeah. Either way, it's more physical pain, yeah. And just kind of a hassle.
Now, everything I read says that tattooing forget the mental piece of it, but it's physically safe these days.
Oh yeah, it's very safe. You know, unfortunately, like anything else, there are definitely people doing it who aren't doing it the right way, or they're not insured, or they're not in the right environment, or not practicing in a legal space. But for the most part, like if you're going to a shop or a studio that's licensed, everyone there is licensed. It's the Board of Health that dictates what we do and how we do it. So if a shop is licensed, everyone's trained and insured, and you know, you like the look of their work, then it's perfectly safe.
Okay, but Jess, if I'm licensed, it doesn't mean, what's that commercial that says, it's okay? You know, the tattoo artist, the guy who says, I'm one of the tattoo artists in the city, and the client says, you mean one of the best ones? He goes, yeah, right.
Oh, God.
You know,
yeah, that wouldn't make me feel too good.
Okay, so from a health point of view, you have to be trained?
Yes. So most towns in Massachusetts, actually, so each town's Board of Health is what dictates what requires the license. So if I wanted to work in Milford, I would have to go to the Milford Board of Health and say, okay, what are your regulations for tattooing? What do I have to do? And most cities in Massachusetts now require a 2-year apprenticeship. So you would have to work under a licensed tattoo artist, someone that's been doing it for a long time. You would have to be their apprentice for 2 whole years. You have to take a skin anatomy class specifically for tattooing. It has to be a college level class. You need to take a bloodborne pathogens course, first aid, CPR, and you have to have certain immunizations.
So you're really taking a bloodborne pathogen course? Wow.
Yeah. They offer most of them online now, but you know, it's all about universal precautions, just like anything else in the medical world. It's all about.
Well, I mean, that was my lab. The first thing we put people through is, you know, bloodborne pathogens and universal precautions.
Yeah.
Because we were using a needle every once in a while. You're using it every microsecond.
Yeah, basically. And you know, all the training and everything, it's not. I don't know that any tattoo artist would skimp on it, because it's not just to protect your clients, it's to protect you. So, you know, if you don't really follow the regulations, you're putting yourself in danger. So I think most people are really diligent about it.
I hadn't thought about that, because you're going to be swimming in blood.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of gross to put it that way.
No, but I mean, you're harpooning people with these little needles, and blood's coming out.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
if you don't...
I'm lucky in my little tattooing world with permanent makeup. There's barely any blood, but we, you know, follow still all the same regulations.
Is that because you're doing micro needles, or?
Yeah, they're very, very tiny, tiny needles, and it's so shallow in the skin. So like a regular tattoo, once it's on there forever. It's not fading, it's not going anywhere. You don't really have to touch it up ever. But with permanent makeup, you do have to retouch it every couple years, or it will start to fade and just not look the same as it used to. So it's really shallow.
But now, you say it doesn't fade.
Permanent makeup?
No, a real tattoo.
Yeah, real tattoos don't really fade. I mean, if you are in the sun a lot without sun protection, or if you use a lot of exfoliators on the area, it will fade a little bit, but generally it's going to look the same for a long time.
I thought, you know, by the time you get to my age, that, you know, the color red is now kind of more dull, or I just thought it would automatically fade over time.
No, not so much. If you really take care of your skin, like you always wear sunscreen, then tattoos stay looking pretty good.
So you go to school. Now, 2 years apprenticeship, that's indentured servitude. You're not getting paid tons of money.
You actually pay the artist to be an apprentice.
So for 2 years, you're making no money and you're paying them.
Yes. But you're gaining experience that you really need. If you're tattooing someone's face, essentially, with permanent makeup, if you're tattooing someone's face, I think that 2 years is definitely worth it. But yeah, most people pay around $7,000 for the 2-year apprenticeship.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you got to end up working 2 jobs, one to eat and one to pay.
Yeah, typically people will apprentice for like maybe 5 hours a week, so it'll just be something they do on their day off. But yeah, it's time consuming for sure.
So now, how do I put this nicely? How do you find out if this is a good tattoo artist, or the one we saw on TV that he does okay?
That's a really good question. So on my social media, and I'm always trying to educate people on that, because nowadays tattooing is already so oversaturated. There's a million tattoo artists that you can pick from. But now, just in the last couple of years, there's a million permanent makeup artists that you can pick from too. So, maybe not all of them are doing scalp micropigmentation or areola reconstruction, but everyone's doing brows, and sometimes it is hard to figure it out. Like, if you don't know the industry, you don't really know what to look for. But I always tell people, for permanent makeup, look for healed work. So look on someone's social media for pictures of healed brows or healed eyeliner, not when it's freshly done, like 6 weeks later, what it looks like. Also, ask about certificates, ask about licensing, ask about their experience, and looking at reviews online is very helpful too. Usually if there's not a lot, it's not a great sign. And I think the same goes for regular tattooing.
You're not going to put up bad-looking ones.
Yeah.
You're only going to put up the ones that you say, ooh, this one came out good, but how do you find out? With physicians, you can look at how many complaints there are against them.
Yeah.
Can you do that on tattoo, or?
Looking at the reviews, yeah, occasionally I do see some artists with some negative reviews in there, so that's a telltale sign. But I think if the work that you're seeing online you aren't in love with, and that's the best photo that they had to post, if you're not blown away by it, it's probably not the right artist for you. It might be right for someone else, but not for you.
What's the difference between artists? When I took an art appreciation course, I had long discussions because Jackson Pollock did nothing for me. I kept saying, I can urinate on canvas. Sorry, it's just, I can do that.
I bet you can.
I don't think there's any talent to that. But a Monet, a Manet, an impressionist, blew me away.
Yeah.
To this day we go to Paris and the rest of the Louvre is like, yeah, that's cute. Take me to the Quai d'Orsay. I want to see the impressionists.
Right.
Of course, your friend Emily, I'll never forget when I went there, she was 10 or 11, and she started trying to teach me about the Monets and the significance. I was like, wait a minute, how do you even know?
But did you learn anything?
Probably, that's the worst part.
There you
She
go.
probably did know more than I did. But how do I tell? You got to have kind of out there people and...
Yeah, but I think what you said, like, everyone has their own certain taste. Like, you have some artists that you love and some that really do nothing for you. And I think the same goes for permanent makeup artists. You'll find some that maybe they're amazing at the look that they do, but it's not the look that you want. And then you'll find artists that do the look you want, but not quite as good as you really want it to be. And then you'll find that right one that their style matches up with what you're going for, and you love the quality of their work.
See, now, I can look at any mall, and they have those extortion centers where all the makeup is like a fortune.
Yep.
And you see people sitting down, and I guess a makeup artist, whatever, they do it up, and the idea is if you like what you see, you'll buy all the goodies that they used.
Yeah.
Okay, if you don't like it, you go wash your face and you go somewhere else.
Yep.
I can't wash my face once you're done with me.
No, you cannot. So the point is that you really want to do your research. I know when I go to get a regular tattoo, like a traditional body tattoo, if I have a friend who went to someone and they had a good experience and I just want to get one on a whim, I'll go to that person, whatever.
A tattoo on a whim?
Yeah, why not? When you already have a bunch, you don't even notice the new ones. But on your face,
but wait a minute,
you need to be more careful.
You mean you just said go ahead and write on me on your hands?
Yeah.
Ouch.
No, I'm kidding. I put a little bit of thought into my body art, but with permanent makeup, you really want to look for a long time. You want to browse as many artists as you can in your area. Some people even travel pretty far to get it done. I have a lot of brow clients who have come from Vermont. I had someone who came from New Jersey. So it's really worth looking for a long time. Most people that come into my chair, I say, oh, how long have you been thinking about getting your brows done? And they say 1.5 years. So they spent 1.5 years researching to find the right person for them.
So what's the most popular? Is it brows?
Yeah, definitely brows. Brows take up, I would say, like 80% of my time. Because that's one thing that, you know, people lose brow hair from just stress. I have a lot of clients who have just lost hair completely out of the blue. Maybe it's one whole brow, maybe it's both whole brows, and it can happen in like a matter of months.
So now, all kidding aside, if I lost one brow, I got a problem. I mean, mentally. I'm not going to look balanced to myself, right?
Right.
So this is no longer vanity.
No. Most of the women that come in, I would say they're coming in out of what feels like necessity. So say, you know, you lost all your brow hair from some sort of illness. Maybe you went through chemo and you don't have any hair. Brows really do change the look of your face. Like when you have that perfectly sculpted brow and it's the right size for you, the right shape, the right color, the right intensity for you, it can take 15 years off your look easily. And like you said, if you suddenly have total hair loss on just one side, that's not something that you'd be comfortable, you know, going to the grocery store looking like that, and that's not okay. You should be able to just wake up and go and feel confident with how you wake up, and that's kind of what we're all about at the studio. We're about, you know, making sure that every woman wakes up feeling as confident as she possibly can, because we don't have time in the morning. Like, no one has time for a morning routine. People spend an average of 60 hours a year doing brow makeup. Wouldn't you like to get that time back? It's a lot.
See, that's the advantage of being fat, old, and bald. Nothing
There
I do
are
is
so
good.
many advantages to that.
I was going to say, there's nothing I'm going to
That's
do
one of
that'll help,
many.
so I don't have to try.
Yeah, you're lucky.
You know, it just...
But you have nice full brows.
I wouldn't even know how to...
They're there. You don't have to worry. But I think losing your brow hair is one thing that it makes you feel like you look just aged and tired and not ready for the day. And a lot of times when you're doing your makeup, it's so frustrating. Women easily spend 20 minutes in the morning just doing their brows.
Just their eyebrows?
Just their eyebrows. That's so much time. And then you fiddled with all these different brow pencils and you didn't even really like any of them. No one ever really told you how to use them. So you spent that 20 minutes and you still don't feel that great about it, you know?
So now, do most people come to you, I mean, obviously the stereotype idea is, oh, it's vanity.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, I'm sitting there saying I'm married to the most beautiful, intelligent woman I ever met. Nothing she could do could,
Aww.
you know, I mean, we've been together just shy of 100 years.
Yeah.
You know, we're going on 40 years this year.
Good.
Right?
Good for you.
I mean, changing her eyebrows, could it make me love her or appreciate her anymore? Of course not.
Right.
You know, but she never will accept, how do I look? Beautiful. Yeah, you just say that. No, I really believe it.
Yeah.
But it's not, is it mainly women who want to look different? Or when I think of medical tattooing, I really think of necessity.
Yeah, I don't really think this is something that people do just for fun or just, you know, to look a little bit better. I think this is something that people do when they absolutely need it. I think it's something that people do when hair loss that's come from an illness or stress or age is something that they just can't leave the house feeling confident with anymore. I do see a lot of people with alopecia. I see a lot of people who have gone through chemo. I see a lot of people just that have gone through really traumatic experiences and lost brow hair for that reason. So I wouldn't say it's all about vanity. I think it's more about restoring confidence.
I had a good friend through alopecia. She had no hair.
Yeah.
And she didn't want to go through the whole day, you know, as a senior executive in the company with just a, I don't know what you'd call it, a bald face, you know, with no hair at all. So I don't know if she had tattoos or what's the difference now? I can sit there to create an eyebrow de novo out of, you know, a pen.
Yep.
How long would that take you every day?
For me to do a new set of brows at work?
Well, no, if you're a patient and you have no hair.
And you just want to draw them on?
Right.
I would say it would take a good 30 minutes.
Half an hour every day.
Yeah, it's really hard to see the symmetry and then think, you know, a lot of people don't have perfect vision. That makes it so much harder because you can't really do it if you have glasses on or anything.
It wouldn't look quite right if they were not symmetrical.
Yeah, it makes it really challenging. And seeing symmetry on your own face is really difficult. So that's why a lot of times people will draw one on, erase, draw one on, wipe it off, and it's just, there's so much frustration that comes along with it. And if you've already gone through an experience where you've had sudden hair loss, you don't want to have to go through that extra step. You don't need any more frustration in your life. It should be easier.
But now I read, I guess it was when you were tattooing Areola on that they do a 3D version. Mm-hmm. How do you make, I don't care where it is, but how do you make eyebrows or anything look 3D?
So it's really all about shadows and creating shadows and using, highlighting colors. With Areola, there's so many different shades that are used to create a new Areola on blank skin. So they use a lot of really deep tones to create the shadows, and then they use colors as light as off-white to create highlights to make it look 3D. Same as if you were painting a really realistic picture, same idea. And with brows, we use different colors and different shading techniques to kind of create the shadow on the skin that real hairs would cast on the skin if they were there.
Now, do you go get piggy skin to practice, or?
A lot of people do actually practice on pig skin. You can buy pig's ears to practice on. You can use latex skin. It's actually kind of come a long way. A lot of tattoo artists will buy latex skin online, and it does simulate real skin.
I was going to say, it's not like you can get somebody. I'd like to practice. Are you up for it?
You'd be surprised. There are people that are up for it. But yeah, most people will practice on latex.
Jessie, I love you to death, but
you're not up for it?
Not to be the practice dummy?
That's okay.
No, I don't think so. Let's see. I've never done an eyebrow. Let me try on you.
Yeah, that wouldn't really make me feel too comfortable. But, there's someone for everything.
So now, how long does it take you to create an eyebrow?
I usually book 2.5 hours for a new brow client. So that includes them coming in, filling out paperwork, us having a consultation. So we'll talk about what their goals are, what look they love, what color they usually use when they fill them in. We'll go over their medical history, and we'll decide which method is right for them. And I usually spend about 20 to 30 minutes just mapping out the brows with pencil. So going by their face shape, their bone structure, their natural hair growth, and their preferences. And then I'll have them take a look, and then we'll get started. And it usually takes about 2.5 hours.
Are there medical conditions that, I'm allergic to sharp needles.
Oh, okay.
If you bring a needle near me, it's right away I get nervous.
Yeah.
I'm not allergic, but it's okay, the idea of being harpooned just doesn't do anything for me. But are there real medical conditions? Obviously a hemophiliac won't do well with being poked.
Yeah, so anyone that has a condition that requires them to take aspirin every day, if you're on an aspirin regimen, it's not a great idea, because with your blood so much thinner, you would bleed a little more during the service, which isn't necessarily a deal breaker, but you wouldn't retain color as well, so it really wouldn't be worth your money. Another thing is we never tattoo anyone that's pregnant or breastfeeding, because no tattoo inks actually are regulated by the FDA. So no tattoo inks for permanent makeup, traditional tattooing, or anything. And while we're very confident in what's in them, anytime you're breaking the skin and introducing something into it, whether it's just introducing environmental factors or a pigment, it's not really cool with us to introduce that to a baby, just in case.
So now, when you buy ink, are there different grades of ink, or?
Not really different grades, but there's definitely trusted brands. There are certain brands that have been around for 100 years. There's brands that are most popular that most trainers use and recommend. So at my studio, we usually stick with the very well-known ones.
I was going to say, we read about imports from China of different chemicals.
Yeah.
That all of a sudden you find out there's trace metals in it. Well, you're stabbing me 1,000 times. If there's trace metals in there, you're going to be very efficient at not making me feel happy.
Yeah, and actually a lot of tattoo pigments used to have metal in them, and you wouldn't be able to go get an MRI after getting a tattoo on certain areas. Isn't that crazy?
Well, you'd think about to get the bright yellow. It's like Stylons when we were kids. Down on Fino Field where they made tile. Oh. You'd go out and you'd see the settling pools.
Yep.
Bright green, you know, the chromium, all the heavy metals that made the colors just pop out. But I don't think I'd want that in my body.
Yeah, no. So the pigments that we use now, they contain no metals at all. They're organic pigments. We even still, you know, it's kind of a recent thing that there are pigments out there like that. So we even still have on our intake forms asking if you're anemic or not, because some of the pigments that were used even a year ago had iron in them. So your body would absorb the iron from the pigment and you wouldn't be left with the color that we expected.
Oh, that's it. I hadn't thought about that. You
Yeah.
pull the ferrous ions right out.
Yep.
And change the color.
Yeah.
Now, you're saying 2.5 hours, you've gone through it all, you draw on the eyebrows to say, are you sure now? This is what you want to look like.
Yeah.
But you mentioned that on some facial permanent makeup, you have to come back every few years and change it or update it.
Yeah, so after the first session, which it takes a maximum of 2.5 hours, I would say, you know, some clients only take an hour and a half, so it's somewhere between there. And really only 30 to 60 minutes of that time is tattooing. And we do use numbing agents too, so people are very comfortable. But anyway, it's 6 weeks after that first session, clients do have to come back for a touch-up because everyone's skin is a little bit different. There's so many factors that go into healing a really superficial tattoo like this. And, you know, even just with the environment, the skincare you use, how much you're in the sun and all that good stuff, healing can be a little unpredictable. So for that reason, everyone comes back in 6 weeks to touch them up and really perfect them. And then depending on which method of permanent makeup you choose, you would want to come back and get a touch-up every 1 to 3 years.
So now, when you talk about the needle, it seems like if I'm having the tattoo you have on your wrist, it goes deeper?
Yes.
Is it the same droplet distribution? I mean, the ink's the same?
The ink is similar. So tattoo ink and permanent makeup pigment are a little bit different. Permanent makeup pigment is meant to imitate more natural colors. Like we don't usually use straight black, especially for the brows. And permanent makeup pigment, it's just less intense. It's a little more sheer in color. But also when we're doing permanent makeup, my favorite needle configuration to use is a 0.25 millimeter needle. So it's one single needle and the diameter is 0.25 millimeters. So it's incredibly small.
Well, that's the same size they use on diabetics.
I didn't know
I
that.
was going to say it's 0.2 to 0.3.
Yeah.
You
So
know,
it's very tiny, but a lot of times like people will use for traditional tattooing a grouping of maybe up to 15 needles in much larger diameter. So the pigment would go like in a larger area at once. It's hard to have that precision, but with permanent makeup using super tiny configurations, you can get a lot of precision.
But now, what makes it permanent? Does it go deeper? I mean,
yeah. So
here's a fundamental question. Why does a tattoo stay?
So tattoos go into the very lowest layer of the dermis, sometimes going a little bit deeper than that too. But permanent makeup barely touches the dermis. So we only go just below the epidermis. That's what makes it kind of fade away.
But when it goes into the dermis, it's there, your body won't try and get rid of the ink particles, or?
Not really. I mean, these pigments are really designed to be put in the skin and to be healed into the skin. Your body will push a little bit of it out throughout the first couple days of healing, which is pretty normal. But with traditional tattoos, it's so deep in there that you really don't lose a lot of color.
Wow. Now, we talk about tattooing. The business plan I read was for untattooing or removing tattoos. And I saw that it was more money spent, or more people. It wasn't just the fact that, I guess it cost significantly more to remove a tattoo.
Yeah.
But more people were doing it. I think it was laser?
Yes. So laser tattoo removal is getting more and more popular, and I think the reason so many more people are interested in it is because now it's just more accessible than ever. If you had tried to get laser removal 15 years ago, it would be hard to find someone that does it and is reputable, and it would be really, really expensive. Although it is still pretty pricey now, it's definitely more realistic.
But now what happens? laser beam goes in and, was it lift the ink, or how does it get rid of it?
I believe it dissolves it. Being a laser technician is something like pretty far away from the tattoo industry. It's a totally different ball game, but it is a very intense service. So your skin is usually burned to a degree afterwards. It leaves your skin in pretty rough condition, but it definitely does get all colors except for white and yellow out. Those are very difficult to get out with laser.
Why?
I don't know.
But I guess if you have Sally on your chest and Sally's no longer there, whatever pain you're going through is less pain than showing up to Mary and still showing Sally.
Yep, got to do what you got to do. But yeah, like I was telling you earlier, I actually offer a different type of tattoo removal called saline removal, also known as non-laser removal. So instead of using a laser to get rid of the pigment, which like I said, it doesn't leave the skin in great condition, doesn't work on every color, it's super expensive and pricey. Saline removal, what I do, it leaves the skin in perfectly fine condition. It's very inexpensive to have it done. It works on all colors, and it's definitely more comfortable. It feels similar to getting that tattoo in the first place.
Now, if it doesn't get rid of white and yellow, so I'm going to get rid of all my tattoo except some weird shading of white and yellow?
I believe there are different types of lasers that can get the white and yellow, but the issue is that white has titanium dioxide in it, and it's just very resistant to the laser.
Now, I also read that besides the cosmetic side that we think of, medical tattooing can help on scarring or reducing the look of scars.
Yes, so there is a service called camouflage tattooing. People often use it on scars or stretch marks.
When I saw that the first time, I thought of the people, they're going to make camouflage on their,
Oh, God. Well, actually, that's kind of unfortunately how it heals. So camouflage tattooing, there are maybe a handful of technicians in the US that I would trust to do it, but it doesn't usually go as well as you expect it to. Anyone interested in camouflage tattooing, I would say, is definitely going to have to travel to find the right person and should research for at least a year. The issue is that when you do camo tattooing and then you go to the beach and get a tan, that tattoo that you just did is still your old color. So now what? You know?
I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah, and a lot of times, like, you're using a pigment with a lot of titanium dioxide in it if you have a lighter skin tone. And over time, that's going to age not looking so great. Usually that will turn more of like a eggshell color rather than staying white. And sometimes it can look very textured. So it sounds super gross, but a lot of permanent makeup artists will compare how camo tattooing heals to looking like cottage cheese.
Ooh.
Yeah, so not a look that you really want.
Then why do they do camo?
I think honestly, like a lot of the videos that I see people posting, I think it's artists doing it that aren't really experienced enough to know how poorly it can age. But like I said, there are definitely some trainers out there who actually teach it that I would trust with it. It just, a lot can go wrong with it. So that's something that I would proceed with caution. A lot of people do camo now too for like under eye bags. But these are things that are kind of frowned upon in the permanent makeup world, again, because it doesn't typically age that well.
Under eye, so you're hiding it.
Yeah, so people will actually tattoo like a flesh tone under the eye to cover up a dark circle. But if that ends up aging like cottage cheese, that's a problem for you.
It's like using the Botox thing. Okay, it hides it for a while.
Yeah, but at least with Botox, when it wears off, you're kind of just back to before. But if you have cottage cheese eyes, then you're not going to go back to normal.
You hear about a lot of dark skin. Coming from the Portuguese background, the dark skin is something you see. And was it vitiligo that you lose?
Oh, yep.
Now, there you're losing very large chunks of color.
Yeah, occasionally some artists will do camo tattooing just on clients with vitiligo. Usually there are, extra consent forms that would go along with it, because what can happen is that trauma to your skin can make the condition worse. So say you have certain areas that are lacking pigment, but they've kind of stayed the same for a couple years. You could go to do camo tattooing on them and it would actually inspire the condition to get worse. You could develop more areas that lack pigment, you know? For example, like I do blush lip tattooing, so it's like a permanent lipstick and lip liner. And a lot of clients with vitiligo on the mouth area, we would wait for the color to be completely removed from the lips. So say there was just like a partial lip that was lacking pigment, we wouldn't want to just do that area. We would wait until color is completely gone from the whole lip area and then proceed with it.
That way it'll be like a uniform color? But when I think of a big patch, you got to be there forever with your little needle.
Yeah, for something like that, we would definitely do a larger configuration, something with maybe like 15 needles in it, but still very, very tiny diameter. Some of these needles are, like a lot of people actually use acupuncture needles for permanent makeup, which, you know, have you gotten acupuncture before?
No!
No? Oh yeah, your allergy, I forgot.
I'm allergic to people stabbing me.
They're just so tiny, you barely even feel it.
Really?
And the ones that I use are not that much bigger than that. But like I said too, we use numbing agents, so people are pretty comfortable.
Now, I saw something that by using these micro needles on scars,
Yep.
you can actually get the effect of healing
Yeah,
by
so
collagen
that's actually a different service. So camouflage tattooing scars is one thing. Microneedling scars is a different service. So microneedling can only be performed by acupuncturists in Massachusetts. It is a service that involves basically dry tattooing the skin. So you go over the whole area and it basically inspires your skin to heal. So if you have a scar, or even with lines and wrinkles or stretch marks or areas with hair loss, it basically just stimulates the skin. So you go over the area with like the dry needles. You can infuse serums and stuff in, like if you have certain things that you want to treat. And it is very red, just for a couple days. It can be a little bit uncomfortable because it does feel like tattooing. So depending on what area you're doing it on, it might be a little pinchy. But people do get pretty amazing results with it.
Well, when I think of, they've gone through a lot as women get older and lose estrogen.
Yeah.
And you get some vaginal dryness and an issue that they've used cesium lasers to essentially micro prick the skin so that collagen comes in and restores itself. So, I thought about that. I said, I guess if it works in one part of your body, it probably will work at other places.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, like rejuvenating any part of your body is a huge part of the beauty industry right now. So whether you're doing it with lasers or with microneedling, it is cool that it's a natural approach to it because you're only inspiring your skin to heal itself. You're not really introducing anything super foreign to the skin. It's not like Botox or filler where you're putting a foreign substance in. It's just making your skin work harder for itself.
Yeah, botulism. Let me just think about this. One of the most deadly toxins known, and I'm going to voluntarily let somebody introduce it to me. Boy, that sounds like an exciting.
It's pretty exciting for a lot of people. I personally am a fan of injectables. I love them. My general philosophy on everything like this, everything when it comes to beauty is if it makes you feel good, you should do it.
Now, I would think one of the most challenging areas because of what patients have gone through is when people have had mastectomies. And again, being a man, I have no clue.
Right.
Losing a nipple. Well, nobody can see it. There's nothing you could do to make me love my darling bride less. But when you read about it, it's all about the person and how they feel.
Right, I was just gonna say, it's all about you. It's never really about, looking a certain way for anyone else. It's just about feeling more comfortable in your own skin and feeling more confident. And most artists who do areola reconstruction usually do it for free for women who have had mastectomies. They call it pay with a smile.
Oh, how cool.
A lot of doctors and dermatologists actually do it too, but I would highly recommend going to a permanent makeup artist for it. Just because, that's their one specialty, so you're likely going to get better results.
So that's all they do?
Yeah, well, permanent makeup artists that do areola reconstruction usually also will do permanent makeup for the face, like cosmetics. A lot of them also do scalp micropigmentation, which is for...
Okay, you're talking to a bald old man. Now
Yeah.
tell me what
You're
this is
interested
about.
now? So it's basically tattooing, it kind of looks like stubble all over the head. So it looks best if you keep like a really short haircut, like if you buzz your head or if you shave your head. And it's basically just creating little stubble all over the head.
Oh, I
It's
see.
actually pretty amazing. It looks really great. You can create like a whole new hairline. Like if you feel like your hairline's not as visible anymore. It's a very up-and-coming service. I believe it is offered somewhere in Boston, but there are not a lot of techs who do it.
But now, you'd have to wait till your hair color stops or dye your hair, right?
Like I said, it's typically best if you like shave your head and just have that, or if it's like buzzed, you know?
Yeah, 'cause I was going to say, I used to have hair till I had daughters, and it was black.
Yep.
I mean, now putting in black stubble, I don't know that would look very realistic.
Oh, if you shaved your head, for sure.
Oh, so you'd have to shave your head.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But then it does create the illusion that, you know, you have like a super full head of hair that you just choose to shave it. It's really cool. A lot of women even get it done too. Like if you're a woman and you have a receding hairline, or if you just have like really thin areas in the front, you can have scalp micropigmentation done to just make it look a little fuller.
Just to fill it out.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it's terrible to think that the stereotype would put more pressure on a woman
Yeah.
with, you know, receding hairline than,
Mm-hmm.
I guess, old men, people are used to it.
Yeah, but you would be surprised though. I think more and more men are interested in cosmetic services as time goes on. Like I actually have done a couple pairs of men's brows.
Really?
Mm-hmm. I gotta say though, no offense, but the men are not as willing to take the pain.
There's no question. I mean, it's fundamental. If it was up to men to have babies, we'd adopt.
Yeah. Most women that I have just kind of, you know, they come in very nervous, and I think that's totally normal. Every woman that walks in and says, I'm excited, but I'm really, really nervous. I say that's totally normal. I think it would be weird if you weren't nervous. And by the time we actually get started, you know, after they're in the chair and we're talking and mapping and everything, they're perfectly comfortable. And then they just, you know, lay there just relaxed while we're doing it. But the few men that I've done, they were definitely more uncomfortable and made it known.
So what other places are you tattooing?
Just the brows, eyeliner, lips, and freckles.
Now, freckles.
Mm-hmm.
Where are you freckling? I mean, you...
You can really freckle wherever you want to freckle. Usually I'll either draw on like where we're thinking of doing the freckles with a little pencil, or clients who are super particular about it, I'll actually just sanitize their skin and then have them draw them on.
But what, is it mainly the face? Is it the neck?
Yeah, most people will do just like a little band right across the face, kind of where freckles would naturally come out just from being in the sun all summer and stuff. People will do that. But sometimes I have pretty unique requests. I had someone that wanted a certain constellation.
Of freckles?
So it still looked just like freckles, but if you are someone who's like really into that, you would probably notice that it was a constellation. And I had another client who wanted the same beauty marks that her cat has.
Oh, come on.
Isn't that cute though?
To look like your cat?
That's a committed cat mother. I thought it was cute.
Oh my God.
I mean, she is a human. She still didn't look like her cat, but it was cute.
No, it's really cool that you care that much. You know, you start thinking about your animals.
Yeah.
They become as much of the family.
If only the cat knew how lucky it was to have such a mother.
So, what are the downsides?
I would say the downsides are the healing process. So it is something changing on your face. It's always a shock at first. People usually go through phases of thinking it's way too intense, too dark, too this, too that. And then by the time it's fully healed a week and a half later, they're like, oh my God, you were right. It looks so natural now. But you do kind of have to go through the tough part at the very beginning of it looking a little more intense. You do have to go through like a week or so of not putting makeup within an inch of whatever area we work on. So for some women, that can be pretty challenging. If we do permanent eyeliner, for example, and they can't wear mascara for a week or two, sometimes that's enough to make someone feel kind of insecure when they're going to work every day. So I would say those are probably the most difficult parts.
You know, it doesn't sound like you're doing any weird, I mean, I think of people who tattoo on their back or their backside or whatever. I can't see it. Why would I want a tattoo there?
Yeah, no, this is something that people look at every single day. Like every day when you look in the mirror, you're going to see this. So for most people, that little, you know, healing process is so worth it. When you wake up every day and you have your makeup on already, it's irreplaceable. Like you wake up feeling more confident, you wake up feeling put together, and I think I speak for pretty much every woman ever in saying that that's
well,
goals.
half an hour a day, my God.
And that's the minimum, I would say.
Minimum?
Yeah, I mean, for someone who applies makeup at all for the purpose of correcting something, like correcting a brow that's uneven or correcting, you know, your lip shape a little bit, I would say a half an hour is probably the minimum.
Now, how do you correct your lip shape?
So a lot of people have a little bit of asymmetry in their lips. They might have like one side of their Cupid's bow that's a little bit higher than the other one. Maybe your top lip is not prominent at all, but you have a nice full bottom lip. You can slightly correct this stuff with permanent makeup. You never want to go more than like a millimeter outside the natural lip line because it really won't heal looking realistic, but you can make slight changes that way.
And just a millimeter? Now, do you do color or is it just shape?
Yeah, so color-wise, like usually a permanent lip stain or a permanent lip color, it heals almost like watercolor-ish. So it's like a sheer tint of color. It's not meant to be super opaque. It's not going to look like lipstick. It's going to just tint the skin. So yeah, you can kind of choose, like, do you want a red tint or an orange
or are you doing
tint?
the actual lips?
You can do just lip liner. So if you want, you can just do the edges. I actually have my own permanent lip liner done and I love it. I did it myself, which was an interesting experience.
You're doing it yourself?
I did, yep.
That would scare it.
It was when I first learned how to do permanent lip liner. I was like, well, don't have pig skin, don't have latex.
So I'll just do it on
practicing
myself?
on myself. And I actually love it. I really like it. I think it's just enough of an enhancement that other people wouldn't really know I have it done. I have lipstick on right now, of course, so you can't tell, but it's enough that other people wouldn't know I have it, but it makes me feel good.
No, that's what matters.
You know? Yeah. That's kind of what it all comes down to.
None of this is covered by insurance, obviously.
No. I would say that if you have gone through a medical experience where you had total hair loss or sudden hair loss, it's not totally unheard of for insurance companies to cover something like this, but it's not something that's automatically covered.
But for mastectomies and all, isn't that legitimately part of the healing?
To have areola reconstruction, I don't believe it's automatically part of it because it's not an actual necessity. But I would say, especially in that case, if any, it would be probably easy to get your insurance to cover it, but it would be case by case.
Yeah, because I could see that arguing, saying, look, that has an effect on...
Right. But like I said, I mean, most artists do areola reconstruction for free, at least one a month.
That's cool.
Yeah. Because that's something that, like, you know, woman to woman, it's almost, it's hard to charge for something like that, you know? Like, I don't do that service in particular, but all the women that I've talked to who do it say that it's always a very emotional service. Usually both people are crying, you know, just talking about their experience, and it's hard not to...
Well, if you're the artist, you just got to be looking up saying, thank you for not making me need this, you know?
Yeah. But it's hard. It's hard to see someone else going through that, but then it just brings you to happy tears at the end when that client sees themselves with their old breasts back, you know? Like, seeing someone see that in the mirror, it's always really emotional.
No, that's
It's
right.
overwhelming. Even with brows, like a lot of times if I do brows on a client that has had total hair loss or, you know, always dreams of the brows that she still had when she was in her 20s or something, sometimes people look in the mirror and get really emotional, or they'll text me like a week later and say, you know, I feel like I haven't felt this way in years. I haven't felt so good and so confident and so beautiful. It's kind of crazy.
I would never thought there was that much. Now I'm going to be
huge.
looking at everybody's eyebrows
It's
to
huge.
see.
That's what that's how I feel every day. Every person I see, I can't help but look.
So What kind of range do people spend when they come in for cosmetic?
It's a pretty wide range. For brows, I can only speak for my own pricing, but for brows we charge between $450 to $550 for the first session, and then $100 for the 6-week touch-up. A lot of corrections that we do, like covering up old undesirable permanent makeup, just require additional sessions. But I believe, cosmetic tattoo services can go up to like $1,500 a session.
Okay, but it's not thousands, and normal people can afford this.
Right. So I would say the only thing that's in the thousands range is scalp micropigmentation. People typically spend about $4,000 to have it completed because it takes 4 pretty lengthy sessions on average.
Sounds painful.
Yeah, I wouldn't imagine that it'd be super comfortable, but people will put up with a little pain to have a look that they love.
So it's really mainly the face. I mean, when I think of tattoo, people have tattoos everywhere.
Yeah.
You see it on their legs, but you wouldn't do cosmetic.
No. I would say, like, in rare cases, if someone has, like we talked about, if someone has vitiligo and they understand the risks associated with it, and there's areas on their body that they want to begin to camouflage, then that would fall under cosmetic tattooing. Or for those like artists that do offer camouflage tattooing, some places on the body you might do it, but generally it's the face.
Now, is there certain parts of you that are more painful to do than others?
Definitely. So certain parts of the face or the body, you think?
Just over the body. I mean, I would
body,
think if you're doing my legs, I can put up with a lot.
Yeah. Well, depends on what part of your legs.
I have parts of my leg?
You do have a couple parts of your leg. Like, personally, my kneecaps were not that great.
Oh, God, no, I never even thought of that.
Yeah, the back of your knee, not the best. But honestly, people ask me all the time, just because of what I do, like what the most painful tattoo that I've gotten was. And honestly, it was right above my fingernails. Just this tiny little spot. You wouldn't think so, but I was...
One time, they took me to a nail salon. They said I had to try it.
Okay.
It was torture.
Oh.
A woman had a little punji stick.
Oh, yeah. That can be bad.
It's like, no, I don't ever want to do that again.
So think of that, but 5,000 times worse.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Let me sign up for this.
Yeah, so never went back to get those touched up because I wasn't ready to go through that again. But
arms?
Yeah, arms are generally pretty easy. Like the ditch of your elbow is not great. Anywhere that's very, very tender or very bony, I would say is more painful. But as far as cosmetic tattooing on the face, I think like just the outer corners of the eyes for eyeliner are probably the most uncomfortable, and the Cupid's bow, just right on top of your lips.
For once, being rotund works to my advantage because there's no bones. It's all covered with fat.
Oh, there you go. Maybe it's time for a tattoo then.
Oh, God, no. I just can't imagine. I mean, you got a butterfly or something cool. But the only thing I could think of is my daughters.
Oh,
That's
perfect, though.
I could have their names on me. My darling bride. I mean, after being married 100 years, if she hasn't run away yet.
I don't think she will. I think you're good. So
why?
that's perfect.
But then I wouldn't know what design. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a long decision there.
You know what the trick is, though? For body tattoos, if you get one and then you're sick of it, you just get another one and you forget about the first one.
Come on.
then
I'll run out of
then
body.
You have like 50. And...
But don't they stretch as you get older? And
a little bit, but not as much as you would think.
Really?
Yeah, they'll really only like kind of morph with like extreme weight gain or weight loss, but just aging doesn't really change them as much as you would think.
So why do people remove them more often than put them on?
Just not liking them anymore, or if you, like you said, if you got Sally's name, but you're with
that I can
Mary
see
now.
as silliness.
Yeah.
I mean, I did watch a show. Was it Tattoo Rescue or something that they had like ugly tattoos?
Oh God. Yeah.
And they're gonna go over them with a less ugly tattoo, or
yeah, cover-ups I would say are more popular than removal because it's not quite as expensive or painful.
Cover-ups.
Yeah, so if you have a tattoo that you don't really love and you want to make it something else, you can find a very skilled artist and they can turn it into something else.
More pain.
Like with brow tattooing. So years and years ago, everyone loved like the skinny little eyebrow. So it was just like one skinny little line, and usually it was very dark. And you know, now people don't like that look at all. So I actually see so many women who have that brow and they want it either removed or they want it covered with something more modern. So I do a lot of cover-ups like that. It does usually require 3 to 4 sessions to really get the look that you want, but it's usually doable.
But I would think it's a lot easier to add ink than to get rid of it.
I would say so, yeah. But in some cases, adding pigment wouldn't give the client the result that they want. So like,
But if I had a big bushy, a bigger eyebrow, and now I want a skinnier one.
exactly. So stuff like that, or
Do you just add in flesh tone above the?
well, that would be considered the camo tattooing, which is no bueno. So especially like for the brow area, edging it with like a flesh tone, it heals looking like a white kind of outline. So we never like to do that. I do see it often, but it's not the best idea. It's not the best approach. But if a client has a really dark colored tattoo and they want something lighter, or they have a really dark saturated tattoo, but they want microblading, like the little hair strokes, it wouldn't really be possible. They would have to get removal first and then have the new brows done.
Is it easier on a light-skinned person or a dark-skinned person? I mean, I got the
For
Portuguese blood.
cover-ups or removal?
Just either one.
I would say it really depends. It depends on the tattoo. It depends on what the original artist did, you know, how deep they went with the needles and all that stuff. But generally, there's a little more risk involved with someone with a deep complexion because people with very deep complexions are more prone to keloid scarring. So going over an area that might already be scarred with like new permanent makeup, there's a lot of risk with that.
Well, this is fascinating because I think of tattoos. I thought of the old grizzly guy in the back alley and putting in, a dog or some kind of anchor to show that I'm a manly man.
Yeah.
I never really thought of the advantages for people just for their self-esteem, even if it's in a place where nobody can see it except them.
Exactly.
Interesting. So tell us again, where are you and how do we get a hold of you?
So we are right at 258 Main Street, Suite 111 in Milford, downtown. We're open by appointment only. It's myself and 3 other artists, and we are right online. We're at jessiedillonbeauty.com. We are on Instagram under Jessie Dillon with an _, and we are on Facebook as Jessie Dillon Beauty. So people can reach out to us any of those ways. There's contact forms on the website. There's phone numbers on the website. We're pretty easy to get a hold of.
Oh, fascinating. I'm glad I learn something all the time.
Good.
And to our 6 loyal viewers, thank you for joining. I mean, I hope you learned as much as I did because I would have never thought about some of these options. But as always, may God bless. May tomorrow be a better night than tonight.
Not too long since I've been home. Been running all my life just for my soul.